It's Monday, and a new week in crypto is getting underway. Here with all the top stories to get you up to speed, it's the Coin Bureau News. FTX Repayments Incoming. The bankrupt crypto exchange sees its reorganization plan approved, meaning creditors will soon start getting their money back. Will this pump everyone's bags? GameFi going mainstream. As Web3 game Off the Grid launches on Avalanche to a largely positive reception, is GameFi about to bring crypto to the masses? Fed's Shitcoin Psyop. US authorities bring charges of market manipulation against several companies and individuals after creating a fake token project to entrap them. Everything you need to know. What next for Ethereum? As work continues to scale the world's second largest crypto, could over $1 billion worth of ETH be about to hit the market? Bitcoin adoption continuing. Interest from retail investors is climbing, according to a new report, while institutions continue to onboard BTC. We're still early, folks. And a look at last week's top-performing cryptos, some dates to look out for this week, a selection of prime tweets, your feedback, and an important Coin Bureau announcement. This is the Coin Bureau News, live.
We are live. GM, morning, or afternoon, or evening. How are you doing, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Coin Bureau Weekly News live stream. My name, of course, is Nick. Joined by Guy.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you. How are you, Nick?
Good, good. You have a good weekend or recovery?
I had an interesting weekend. I had an operation on my knee over
and
the
you're
weekend.
Still here on Monday, giving people the news.
Turning up. It wasn't a major operation, but it was big enough. But yeah, I'm back. I wouldn't want to miss the live crypto news for anything.
Who would? Before we kick off with the news live stream, I think it's important. The viewers probably watching this, like wondering what the hell is going on, right? So we need to address the elephant in the room, of course. And his name is Dumbo the Crypto Bro. He's our new addition to our crypto stuffed animal collection. And he'll be joining us in the live stream. So, yeah.
Handsome chap.
Yeah, if you guys want to make a meme coin about Dumbo the Crypto Bro, feel free.
I'm sure there'll be one by the end of the stream. Okay. Well, thank goodness we addressed that elephant in the room.
Yeah, big elephant.
All right, let's move straight and seamlessly into the first news headline then, which is FTX Repayments Incoming. Is this saga finally coming to an end?
Seems so. So obviously there was a lot of FOMO and FUD about this the past month. People were saying, they're going to pay out. There's this big payment coming, and then is it being confirmed or not? The FTT token could kind of like map the FOMO and FUD about, which is completely useless. No understanding why. Just a meme coin itself. But yeah, so it seems like it's been signed off by a judge that's approved the FTX liquidation plan. 98% of creditors will get 120% of their claims. So basically a 20% gain on their claims, and will pay it out over 60 days once the date has been disclosed. The date hasn't been disclosed. So this is 98% of the creditors who, I believe, held more than $50,000 worth of claims.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're sort of inching towards the payouts coming.
Yeah, exactly. It's inching towards it. It's been signed off, so it's now going through the process. It's going through the rigmarole, the legal rigmarole. Obviously, this is a good news story. People obviously at that stage when FTX collapsed, many people had wondered whether they'd ever get their money back. Because obviously FTX basically like pilfered everything and basically used the funds for lots of different cases. But now it seems because of the token performance and all that, people are getting 20% more than at the fiat value when it collapsed. But that's the important caveat, though, fiat value.
Yeah. So this is going to be in a cash repayment rather than the crypto back. So given that obviously some people are upset about this, given that Bitcoin was about 16K when FTX went down.
16K, yeah. So they're not happy about 20 to 25% of what they actually own, and there's been quite a few creditors that have taken issue with that, which is. It's fair to a certain degree, yes, but you never know how they would have, if they just would have hodled, if they'd have sold, when it collapsed. So, it's not good for all. If you intended to hodl, it'd be good to have some sort of in-kind payment back, Yeah. But like Mt. Gox normally does. But, it is what it is. At least they're getting paid back. And what's interesting about this more broadly for the crypto market, obviously, is what impact it could have on potentially more buying, bidding, because these are crypto natives.
Is this money going to find its way back into the market?
Are the degens going to take that money, just YOLO into meme coins and bid all our meme coins up because they got their money back instead of paying off all their debts and everything? It's like once you get repayment, let's go and let's buy some crypto. And there's some anecdotal evidence, and there was a disclosure by this company called Sol Strategies, which I discovered is actually a listed Canadian company.
Okay.
That invests in Solana ecosystem.
Right.
Run stake in validators, things like that.
Okay.
And they said they're going to reinvest. They bought a claim of a company called Lucy Labs.
Right.
Cool, Lucy Labs. Recovered 600,000 of the claim they bought. They're going to put it into. They said they're going to reinvest it in the Sol ecosystem, Solana ecosystem.
Well, I mean, so this is Sol Strategies. This used to be Cypherpunk Holdings.
Cypherpunk Holdings. Yeah.
Well, as they've changed their name to Sol Strategies, you would imagine
I don't think
Solana is going to be.
I don't think it's Aptos Strategies or Sui Strategy they're going to be employing. Yeah, I'm pretty certain the name gave it away.
Yeah.
But one more point I want to raise about this, and there is a lot of course, there's a good news story, and there's FOMO about it. However, last week, our friends over at K33 Research released another report, and this basically tried to break down and analyze how much could really find its way back into the crypto market.
Okay.
So what they've got, there's two charts here. On the left, what they have is, so everyone's been bandying about this 15 to 16 billion number, right? Because that's the amount of claims. But we need to ascertain how much of that could really go to people who want to bid, the actual users of the crypto exchange. So there were a lot of claims that were sold, right, to hedge funds. And hedge funds, when they buy a claim, their mandate is, make the gain in terms of back to full payment and then just sell. They're not going to sit here and run a crypto strategy. They're basically, bankruptcy.
Looking for the quick trade.
Looking for the quick trade. They're trading on that. That's about 3.1 billion out of the 15 billion. Then there's also a claims market. There was an active claims market. People were buying claims in the open market. They will also remove some of that. And then there's some other places that were buying claims as well. And then there's a last component here, which is the estimated non-compliant claims. That's interesting as well, because there were obviously a lot of accounts there that were from sanctioned countries where people can't claim from the US, they can't KYC, people that won't KYC. So they estimated that to be about 3 billion. And they come down to a number of 8.06 billion. That's the estimated that could be going towards crypto native users who would want to invest.
Okay.
Right? And then what they said is, okay, well, let's take a few scenarios of how much of this would be finding its way back into the crypto markets. And they said between 20 to 40%.
Right.
Take a median of 30%, we're talking about 2.4 billion. 2.4 billion being reallocated to the crypto markets or cryptos in general over a few months. I don't think that's a lot.
No, I don't think that's really going to move the needle in any sort of meaningful way, especially if the market sort of continues pumping.
No, it won't. Yeah, but it's a good narrative. But yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. So in all, then, FTX repayments, they are incoming. I think we can't really say that this whole sorry chapter is closed until those repayments are done. In the sort of grand scheme of things, in sort of collapsed exchange repayment timeframes, 2 years. I mean, it will be pretty much 2 years, assuming they're coming soon. It will be pretty much 2 years since FTX went down. I mean, Mt. Gox, it was 10 years.
Yeah.
So I think if you'd sort of asked people back then when FTX collapsed, would 2 years be an acceptable time frame? Probably in the context of Mt. Gox, they'd have said yes.
They got repaid, and justice has been served at least for some now. And there,
Yes. So So Sam Bankman-Fried, obviously 25 years. Caroline Ellison got 2 years recently. Ryan Salem, 7 years. Did you see he put up a thing on LinkedIn saying his new position was inmate at whatever
correctional facility? Yeah, he's going to learn some important skills there.
Yeah.
Important skills.
Yeah, that will serve him well in the wider world, I'm sure. Nishad Singh and Gary Wang, I think we're still waiting for them to be sentenced. But I think that's coming soon. And then, you would hope that those sentences plus repayment to creditors would sort of close this chapter.
Sorry,
for good.
chapter, yeah. Exactly, yeah. No.
Well, let's see. Okay, let's move on. The next story we want to talk about is a GameFi focused story. This was all over crypto Twitter last week, and has been gaining a lot of attention beyond crypto as well. This is, of course, the launch. This is a sort of early stage launch, isn't it?
Yeah, pre-release. Yeah,
a pre-release.
Yeah, early access. Yeah,
yeah, of a new game built on an Avalanche subnet. This is Off the Grid from Gunzilla Games. Before we go any further, I should be full disclosure, Coin Bureau is invested in this project. So just bear that in mind as we talk about it. But this has been one that has been, as I say, all over the place the last few days, garnering sort of largely very positive feedback.
Very positive view. And what's really interesting about this is it's not the feedback mostly has been around the game itself, right?
Yeah.
Even if you see the developers themselves, the people who push the game out, they want to make it all about the gameplay and the game itself. And all of the news articles have been covered, right? And the streamers have all been gaming related streamers, people who are gaming natives, right? The likes of Ninja, Tim Tatman, all these kind of guys are very well known in the gaming space. This battle royale off the grid, and it is a really captivating game. Like, I'm not a big gamer, I don't game, but seeing the feedback from it, it's like, got very good gameplay, it's got very good storyline. It was developed by the director for it was Neil Blomkamp, the guy who developed the District 9 and all these other films. And it's got a good story behind it. It's obviously, players can swap these robotic limbs for new abilities during matches. You can get respawned on this new island, like a battle royale. Reminds me kind of like back in the day when I used to play Unreal Tournament. This is like giving away my age, but but that's back in long ago. So it's really cool. And I think what's really interesting about this from the perspective of a crypto, it's not necessarily a crypto game first. It's a game first with crypto components, which is very much the story it should be, because you can't necessarily onboard new users into GameFi if you're trying to force NFTs and crypto down their throats. You want a game that they'd want to play separate from the component of crypto, and the crypto being ancillary to it. So yes, it's on an Avalanche subnet. Yes, it's got these gun tokens. The NFTs are going to be used like skins within the game. You can also stake them. But it's important to say that this is one of the few that you see is gaining this much attention from natives, and it's already like it's above Fortnite in the Epic Game Store.
Yeah, I think it got to the number 1 spot on the Epic Game Store for free games.
Yeah, I mean, it's
pretty impressive.
Really. And we have a very important review from someone who actually played it earlier today.
Yes, that is right. Yeah, I did actually manage to have a go on Off the Grid earlier. Now, I just want to caveat this when you see me playing this game. You're looking at someone who played an IRL game of Scrabble with their wife last night. Okay, so I am not a gamer. I am not experienced.
I was saying earlier that the kind of game Guy would play would be Gardening Simulator 2024.
Monty Don's gardening simulator.
How much water do we have to add to the optimal growth on this plant?
Oh, don't! Sounds amazing. Anyhow, so yeah, I had a go on Off the Grid, and let's have a look. Let's just have a look. There is some footage of me playing it there. This is us sort of going in. So this is Teardrop Island.
Yeah.
You hurtle out of a plane. If you're me, you sort of.
That's Glenn Hoddle there.
That's Glenn Hoddle. Yeah, that was my handle. Oof, that was quite a tough landing.
What do your teammates think? Your teammates must have been like.
My teammates must have been, who is this absolute boomer loser? But as you can see from this, it looks absolutely amazing. And the gameplay was very smooth. It had this really, really nice aesthetic. Full disclosure, I didn't manage to shoot anyone, and I got pretty swiftly picked off by what I can only assume is a sort of 12-year-old Korean
I'm
assassin.
pretty certain your teammates assassinated you, because they're like, who the hell's this crypto bro in my stream? Getting the hell out. He's useless.
I got fragged.
You got fragged, yeah.
So it looks and sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And like I say, it seems to be getting a lot of traction. And I think in terms of the wider GameFi narrative, so much of GameFi over the last few years has been about traditional gamers complaining about it. They don't want crypto. They don't want Web3. They don't want NFTs shoved down their throat. The sort of first iteration of blockchain-based games to sort of take off, your likes of Axie Infinity, they were kind of groundbreaking in their way, but people very quickly got kind of sick of them. We also saw the incentives got a bit skewed. If you were early to these games, great. If not, you ended up sort of, the barrier to entry sort of went up.
Yeah, it goes back to the play to earn. Just people are playing it to get a token, right?
Yeah.
They're playing it for that. The play to earn concept around Ponzi-nomics comes in, right? And you're just not captivating enough. Long term, people basically just don't have the interest to continue playing it, right?
Yeah.
And this is why I think even this concept right now about the tap to earn stuff, I think that though it's viral, I don't think it's got longevity. Whereas games that gamers like this want to play, it's like, okay, it's got this in it. It's got the skin that I can sell and trade on the open market. They integrate with OpenSea as well, by the way.
Yeah,
I can sell this. And I don't have to go. It's not royalties to any sort of gaming studio. And I have full control of that. Even if the game shuts down, I can keep my NFT. That's interesting. Let me learn more about that, as opposed to just like, here's a game, here's an NFT, take an NFT, right? So
yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, let people enjoy the gameplay, find their way through the game, and then find their way to the Web3 element of it. And if they can be rewarded for enjoying the game and playing it well, all the better.
Yeah.
So, and yes, it was interesting because I think Cointelegraph did some investigation into this. There was an interesting article there. Some of the things that deter Web3 people from Web3 games, KYC requirements, obviously, but generally sort of a hesitancy around crypto wallets and things like that. There's just there seem to be like a lot of moving parts, don't there? And I think although crypto natives like us, because we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? It's like, well, crypto wallets aren't that hard. But we say this after years in the industry. I think a lot of people, this is still a kind of barrier to entry. It's still an extra layer of sort of faff that they don't really want to deal with. So as we say, if the gameplay comes first, then it can act as a sort of Trojan horse to get them accessing all these other features.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So moving on to the next story. Do you know that we had a government agency launched a token last week in order to catch nefarious people, nefarious market makers?
So this was a Fed's crypto Psyop.
A Fed's crypto Psyop. Can you believe that? So yeah, I mean, market making firms, dodgy market making firms were caught up in this. This Fed, they created this token called Next Fund AI.
Yeah.
And basically, it was a setup. It was a honeypot, right? They basically pretended to be crypto founder. I wonder what the MO they must have used in order to get them to believe they're crypto founders. They probably had a meme on their, like a Pepe on their profile picture, managed to get through. But this is the market manipulation. So we've done a video on market manipulation by market makers. These were dodgy market makers. Everyone, if you had been in crypto for some time, you would have seen and known Gotbit was like this. Gotbit was one of the firms. There were many firms. They just basically wash trading and pump and dump crap, and utilizing retail, rinsing them for liquidity, go in and creating fake volume. And Gotbit had been doing it for years. And even there was a Cointelegraph article from 2019 where the guy actually bragged about his bot wash trading abilities.
CoinDesk article, yeah.
CoinDesk, yeah. So Operation Token Mirrors.
Token mirrors, I like that. That was
smoking
smart.
mirrors. You play on the words, token mirrors.
Very good,
very smart.
And as you say, this guy from Gotbit, who was based, I think, in Moscow at the time. But did you say he was nabbed in Portugal?
He was nabbed in Portugal, yeah.
So back in 2019, he literally said, "It's this is unethical what we're doing," but they were doing it. They were doing it anyway. And look, to be clear, like market makers in crypto are important because they bring liquidity. They are an important component of the crypto and token ecosystems. However, as in all industries, there are good market makers and there are bad market makers. And the bad ones, as Nick said, have been skewing the space for a long time, engaging in these market manipulation practices. And really, the upshot of these practices is that everyday retail traders, the people buying these tokens, supposedly fairly on the open market, are the ones getting screwed over because the token prices are being manipulated behind the scenes. A lot of, as Nick said, wash trading going on. So basically, wallets owned and controlled by these market makers trading with each other to sort of up the trading volumes. Classic pumping and dumping as well. And the upshot is retail traders have been losing out. And sometimes, if you've thought, if you've bought a particular crypto only to watch it go down straight away, and just thought the market is rigged against me, in a lot of cases you're probably right, it was.
And it wasn't just market making firms. There were also some projects that were caught up in this. There were people that were based in the US and in the UK. I read the charging documents. It's quite, they for the first time they used memes, like pump it memes in their charging documents. It's like in the Telegram group they shared the meme pump it with, the guy going pump it. It's like the judge in your honor. So what did they share? They shared a Telegram meme with a pump it and the Pepe saying pump it. Okay, cool. So just crazy. But it was also cryptocurrency projects, one called Robo Inu. Imagine if your downfall is a project called Robo Inu, Saitamana or some of this other thing. Saitama.
I remember that.
And I mean it's true because like these market makers sometimes, and it's also when you guys are using exchanges, you sometimes realize be careful of the exchanges you use, because you can see to a certain degree if there's public, at least when it comes to Ethereum and fully transparent blockchains with good blockchain explorers, you can kind of see dodgy activity going on, taking place on DEXs. But what goes on an exchange is behind an exchange's order books, and what market makers a cryptocurrency is using, you can't see. So let's be careful with what kind of exchange you use, because like if you're using a bucket shop exchange, they're using a bucket shop, token market maker, and then they're doing these scam wicks and they're basically withdrawing liquidity. And we've talked about it in our video on market manipulation. But this, so they created this token basically as a honeypot, and it's also interesting. It's quite funny because apparently we've got some tweets here. One is basically when they created this token. I mean, just the concept of basically the Feds actually creating a token as honeypot is mind blowing. But they
next level.
They also just accidentally just doxed their wallets because they seeded it with some funds. So that now we know. Now you can try to track what the Fed is buying. So, guys, if you can use you track that wallet and see if they're buying some token, you guys have got a stack in. Sure.
Yeah.
Sell out.
There's some insider for you. So okay. So I mean, the FBI, kind of next level creating this token, but still a little bit, still dipping their toes in these murky waters.
Yeah, exactly. Well, be the crypto creator if you want to catch a crypto creator, right?
There we are.
And then they also, I think this Psyop guy, he also disclosed that they aren't even going and giving, they're committing copyright infringement. They're using Open Zeppelin's libraries, which is an MIT license, and can't even credit them.
Come
guys,
on, Feds.
Come
you
on,
should
guys.
know better than this.
Yeah.
So this is an important story, I think, because and what is I think what is worth mentioning is that these were US law enforcement agencies. So the FBI was involved. Obviously, they were the ones who created this Next Fund AI project. The SEC was involved as well. Now we've been, there's plenty of criticism of the SEC, especially when it comes to crypto. If you ask me, this is the sort of stuff the SEC should be doing. This is protecting investors. This is what it's all about, like protecting investors from these sort of predatory entities who are just, rinsing them, making the crypto market a worse place for everyone else.
Uniswap isn't the enemy,
Uniswap is not the enemy. Coinbase is not the enemy.
Consensus is not these.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he bragged about this to 2019. Everyone knows what goes on in the dodgy places, and especially on crypto Twitter, you can see manipulation taking place.
Yeah.
Literally, they wrote tweet threads about how they dumped on retail and where they put in their money. And people are like,
why is no one going after?
Why are they going after these guys? Are going to conferences advertising their market making ability on meme coins. So why?
Yeah.
So.
It's crazy. Well, you would hope that this sort of honeypot token that the FBI created should sort of put the wind up, more of these people, because there are also people, they also caught up some people who were promoting it as well.
Yeah.
So I think all the sort of shady actors out there in the industry, all the sort of shady market makers, shady promoters, etc., should be very worried, because if the FBI can do it once, maybe they've done it more times. And maybe other law enforcement agencies elsewhere.
And what do you think these guys are going to say to try and get lighter sentences? If they've been working with people before, working with other people. So if you've used Gotbit for any of your market making as a meme coin, and there's Telegram chats and whatnot, I don't know. Someone's going to sing if the differences between 10 years and 1 year in the US.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say.
Yeah. So I think that's good news that some of the bad guys in crypto should be getting very worried. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about Ethereum, because as ever, there is a lot going on in Ethereum's ecosystem. And, from all the sort of talk on crypto Twitter, the fact that ETH is down bad against BTC and has been for a long time. You would think that sort of Ethereum is kind of moribund, but actually development continues. And well, let's look at some good and bad news for ETH today. So let's start with the good news. First of all, there's a new EIP being proposed, EIP 7781. And this is aiming to reduce block times from 12 seconds to 8. So basically speeding up the network.
Yeah, exactly. So increasing, obviously increasing throughput by 50% and increasing speed by 33%. And this is proposed by Ben Adams. He's an Iliad Games co-founder. And so they to reduce the slot time from 12 seconds to 8 would obviously have the same impact of basically increasing data blobs from 6 to 9, as well as as increasing the gas limit from 30 million to 40 million. So it's not specifically increasing block data blobs or the gas limit, but the impact of reducing slot times will have that impact over the same period of time. So it's kind of like aligning with what other people have suggested for improvements to Ethereum that could lead to more scalability. One of them being the increasing gas limit. And obviously, if you do these kinds of things, you increase. If you increase the gas limit, for instance, you can increase demand and fees being generated, which of course increases the burn and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely, it also got the sign off by Justin Drake, who's an Ethereum researcher.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about this proposal as well is that it would lead to potentially, because you're reducing the slot times, you're reducing the opportunity for arbitrage between DEXs and SEXs. It makes DEX way more efficient. You're also reducing MEV attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got like 100 million, you're saving about 100 million in MEV revenue that's been taken from retail. And then you get it's making the DEXs like Uniswap, like almost he calculated 1.22 times more efficient.
Okay.
So it seems like a win-win, but there is a trade-off. It's like come back to the trilemma. It's speed versus decentralization.
Yeah.
So if you just decrease slot times, block times, you basically it leads to it's more demand on solo stakers, right? People who run their own nodes and stuff like that. And that's because obviously you've got the state, you've got like a lot more blocks and everything. Of course, one is like storage and all that, but then also keeping up with the network. So in terms of internet connectivity and this kind of stuff, so it could be a challenge for solo stakers. That's why they can't just drop it immediately.
Yeah.
So there has to be a trade-off where there's something that's reasonable, such that solo stakers can still run and keep a decentralized network, versus those that basically just go and drop the block time to like a lot of these other more centralized layer ones that are very short block times, but they're quite centralized because the validators have so much demand on them, right?
Yeah, need so much hardware in the case of things like Solana. Yeah. Okay, and yeah, I mean, Vitalik himself, as you can see from that tweet, he's been talking a lot about solo staking recently. And I mean, a lot of this, especially in terms of this EIP we've just been discussing, like a lot of this is kind of in advance of the Pectra upgrade, which is coming either later this year or early next year. And a lot of that is focused on sort of improving Ethereum's user experience. I mean, it's a big, it's almost, I think it's, depending on who you ask, it's kind of almost bigger than Denkun, really, this upcoming upgrade. But yeah, Vitalik as well, talking about solo staking and sort of talking about eventually, because at the moment, obviously, if you want to run a validator, that's 32 ETH, which is a lot of money for most people. But Vitalik talking about dropping that number until eventually we get to 1. So you can, you might in theory one day be able to run an ETH validator just with one ETH, which obviously would do amazing things for decentralization. But as you say, introduce a lot more sort of sticking points, a lot more problems. I guess if you've got that many solo stakers, if you've got that many people running validator nodes, then whenever you do a software upgrade, that's a much bigger thing to try and coordinate. And obviously these upgrades are, if you don't get enough people updating the software, then that's a real problem.
Yeah, 100%. It's that trilemma, always back to that.
Yeah. So there's that happening around Ethereum, obviously, as we say, kind of leading up to Pectra, but all focused on sort of improving the user experience of Ethereum, making it faster and cheaper as well. But you mentioned DEXs. You mentioned DEXs like Uniswap being made faster by this EIP. Funnily enough, Uniswap has just launched its own layer 2.
God, another layer 2.
It's hard to keep up, isn't it?
And this one explicitly is going to be, I think it would have more damage to the L1 then, because it will, this will be a uni chain, a separate layer 1, I think built on layer 2, sorry, and it will be built on, and it will basically create demand for Uni token because you have to utilize it. So they say potentially generate 368 million annually for Uniswap labs and Uni holders.
Wow.
And it will capture all the MEV on Uni chain. So that's good for the Uni holders. But Ethereum validators may lose out on fees and reduced ETH burn due to fewer transactions. So it's taken away from demand on the L1. And Uniswap is one of the biggest, users on the L1 for Ethereum. So it's not necessarily good for ETH demand, ETH L1 demand, more so for Uni and Uniswap holders.
Okay.
And it's just, another layer 2, man.
Yeah, another layer 2. Sony's got its own layer 2. We were going to talk about that the other week, but there was so much else going on. But Uniswap as well. So I mean, you could say that that's probably not as good for Ethereum, certainly for the base layer of Ethereum.
Yeah.
But Ethereum's ecosystem itself continues to evolve. Also, some bad news around potential ETH sales. You guys may or may not remember the Plus token scheme. This was one of the biggest crypto scams ever. And it doesn't register so much with a lot of people in the West because it was mainly focused on China. But this was a big old Ponzi scheme. They took around, they took billions of dollars worth, scammed over 2.5 million people. But some of that money has been reclaimed, up to $1.3 billion worth of ETH seized from the Plus token Ponzi by Chinese authorities. Obviously, there is now a concern that Chinese authorities could do what US authorities, German authorities have done, and cheat it all into the market.
Well, yeah, I mean, the German ones were the worst, offenders there. Just basically nearly everything. They emptied the clip. Maybe the Chinese government will be a bit more, have a bit more foresight there. Maybe want to hodl it. I mean, it is an advantage for them to basically an edge to have accumulate crypto as an alternative asset. So maybe they'll hold on to it.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll have to sell it, but yeah.
Yeah. And like I say, it was interesting that Plus token, I mean, they had a lot. They obviously had a lot of BTC. They had a lot of ETH. They had a lot of Doge. They had a lot of Dash, EOS. So it shows you how old school this was. But yeah, this was a few years ago. But yeah, this, I think authorities confiscated something like $14 billion in total. That's how much this Ponzi scheme raked in. So yeah, Plus token, one of those dark moments in crypto history. Yep. Okay, so we've talked about Ethereum. It's only right we talk about Bitcoin as well.
Bitcoin, the slow adoption continues. The slow behind-the-scenes adoption that doesn't get as much clicks, doesn't get as much fanfare, but it's always a good news story just to see it's been adopted all around the world from people and retail investors. So we had a report out last week, which we're actually going to be doing a review, a summary on later this week, IOSCO, and it basically looked at and there's a chart within it as well, and it basically ownership among retail investors has risen sharply since 2020, with up to 30% of retail investors in some regions now owning crypto. So this chart basically shows how many jurisdictions of people, percentage of people who held crypto. So, from 0 to at least 2 jurisdictions in 2023 that have 30% or more people who have it in crypto as part of their assets, their investment portfolio. And then the others are also just as good. So it's a slow adoption continues, and it's retail, specifically under retail investors under 40, so people really get it. They're drawn to crypto because of obviously FOMO speculation, but also, just they appreciate the need for crypto in their portfolio in terms of
I think there's a sense among, I want to say that generation. I mean, I'm over 40, so I'm a millennial really. But I guess sort of millennial generation and under sort of feel that crypto is more sort of their asset. I think because it's an asset that's come about in our lifetimes.
Exactly.
Whereas I think things like stocks and bonds, obviously they're much more widely available, have been available for a long time. But I think there is that sort of association with them as sort of boomer assets. Something that previous generations held. And I think this is going to be a big story of crypto moving forward. It's always been difficult to onboard sort of older people into crypto because there's so many barriers to it really. But the younger generations are sort of feel a lot more ownership of it. Yep. So I think that's only going to increase adoption.
And there was another report as well in terms of investing strategies from Kraken, which we're also going to be doing a summary on. And this basically looked at investing habits, and it found that among 60 of the 1,000 people they surveyed, 60% of them are doing DCA. So DCA is obviously dollar cost averaging, buying on a regular basis and averaging into Bitcoin, and increasing your entry point into cryptocurrency. It's like, or Bitcoin is averaged out, right? Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is the way in which, if we've got the chart there as well from it, and their reasons for doing so. And this makes perfect sense. So obviously, yes, it reduces the impact of market volatility because you're not trying to time markets. You're not trying to buy. You're doing an average entry point over a longer period of time. But I would say the second point, which they raised there, which 24% of people said, I think that's the more important one, is it encourages consistent investing habits. And I think 100%, because it's just discipline. Like every day, just do it, right?
Do it. Yeah, it doesn't need to be a thing. And there are so many ways that you can automate this as well. Just take it.
As Confucius said, doesn't matter how slowly you go as long as you go,
There we are. A bit of Confucian philosophy into today's live stream. Bet you guys weren't expecting
Inspiring.
that. It's a bit of a heavy way to start the week, but I like it. Okay, so younger investors, retail investors are getting into crypto. Yeah. Retail is coming back, but it's not sort of, it's not the kind of sudden tidal wave. It's more sort of kind of welling up from the bottom. So very encouraging news, but it's not just retail investors as well. Institutions and, sort of national level entities are getting into Bitcoin as well. This story that we want to look at here is the National Bank of Bahrain has launched a Bitcoin investment fund. Now, this is going to give exposure to institutional investors within the GCC, which is the Gulf Cooperation Council. So that includes Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE.
Yeah.
A lot of oil money there.
A lot of money looking to bid your Bitcoin. Yeah. It is interesting because of the fact that it's the structure where you get only some of the upside, but you get full downside protection, potentially to try and make it Sharia compliant. And we've also got a video coming out on Sharia compliance. Pretty interesting to
I
look
think
at.
I'm filming that tomorrow, Sharia compliant.
Yeah,
that is a very interesting topic, Sharia compliance in crypto.
Yeah.
I think that, potentially very big.
But yeah, the MENA region is massive. It accounted for, according to a Chainalysis report, it accounted for 7.5% of global cryptocurrency transaction volumes between July 2023 and June 2024. So it's a massive region. I would think that it's up punching above its weight.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's all this wealth, oil wealth, but also not just from the perspective of wealth, but regulatory clarity. We obviously here in Dubai, we know about VARA, which is doing a lot of things now. And not only are they paving the way for clear crypto regulations, but they're also, taking down dodgy actors as well. There was this enforcement actions like last week or something. So
yeah.
It's not just the story of like people bidding and buying into crypto, but also the frameworks being created here and an industry and a region that's been more receptive to it.
Yeah. Yeah, Middle East is big on crypto, and I think what's interesting is that you see an initiative like this from Bahrain. I think in this region, the Arab countries are all they're quite competitive with each other. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see sort of other GCC nations sort of bid to kind of outdo Bahrain on this one as well. So there's obviously a lot up for grabs. This whole region is kind of going crypto. I think the only sort of country that's really anti-crypto at the moment is Kuwait.
Yeah, Kuwait.
They're really not fans, and obviously, there's talk of a whole load of potential interest from Saudi at some point in the future. But again, a lot of this rests on the sort of Sharia compliance of crypto. So keep an eye out for that video that will be dropping fairly soon.
Yalla crypto.
Yalla crypto, exactly. And just to end this particular segment before we get into the top gainers and everything else, I saw this very interesting article in DL News. Now, this was covering a survey by Charles Schwab, the investment platform. They surveyed over 2,200 millennials, and they found that 62% of them were planning to invest in crypto over the coming years.
I love the cover image they use, like a representation of a millennial. Crypto, bro.
Man. Once I get out of Burning Man, I'm going all in on crypto, dude. Whoa.
So stereotypical.
Yeah. But this is part of, as you see, that $84 trillion wealth transfer. This is obviously the sort of gradual transfer of wealth over from boomers to millennials, and it looks like some of that money is going to find its way into crypto. So again, another sort of positive story about crypto adoption going forward. It doesn't, this isn't about a sudden tsunami of money, a sudden tsunami of adoption. This is sort of incremental, slow, a slow adoption, but it is moving in the right direction. Okay, so that's all the news stories that we wanted to cover today. Let's get into the top gainers from last week. It's a bit of a mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag. You can go first on this one.
Okay, well, so the first top gainer from last week is First Nero on Ethereum. This is the ticker Nero. I don't know why it's pumped. I can't even keep track of all the Neros. So are you familiar with the story of Nero?
I've vaguely followed it. Like, it's two different. The dog that died, that was basically a new dog she adopted, and
so Kabosu, who was the original Doge dog, sadly died recently. Its owner got a new dog, a new Shiba Inu called Nero. Sure enough, within seconds of this news coming out, Nero meme coins were being minted left, right, and center. There was a whole load of sort of just jiggery pokery going on, loads of different ones, but there were several on Solana, but this one claiming to be the first one on Ethereum. But yeah, I couldn't see
it in the name. I mean, it has to be the case. It has to be true.
Yeah,
I mean, it has to be. It's in the name.
It's in the name. It's in the name, bro. So First Nero on Ethereum, that was one of the big gainers. Like I say, I'm not quite sure why, but you don't. Sometimes it doesn't need to make sense. What's next?
Ethena's ENA. So obviously this is the governance token of the Ethena protocol, the cash and carry synthetic dollar issuer. It's been rallying quite a lot over the past 2 weeks. Also last week, if I recall, and there was also news like last week or the week before about they're going to invest a backup fund into BlackRock's Spittle fund, which is interesting because that's an RWA. It's a hard asset in terms of tokenized, treasuries that they're going to be invested in, and also there was a news of 30 million USDS from Sky. So they basically invest in the funds, their reserve funds as well. And Ethena itself, the ENA and the USDE has kept its peg pretty well.
Yeah.
Although it's not really technically a stablecoin, like I said, it's a synthetic dollar that uses this tokenized cash and carry trade. The fact that it has managed through some very tumultuous market conditions, managed to hold its peg, I think that's been a test of its metal, and it's coming through on top. So
yeah. I think this is was ENA a top gainer last week, or maybe the week before, but still performing strongly. Okay, the next top gainer from last week. This is an interesting one, Brett. This is the sort of big meme coin on Based. Now, I think Brett has been doing well because Base recently flipped Arbitrum by TVL.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Base doesn't have a token at the moment. There's sort of constant talk of whether Coinbase will drop a Base token at some point. But for the time being, people wanting to speculate on Base, really, it seems like Brett is the way to do that. Brett, as I said, being the number one meme coin on Base. So it seems to be acting as a sort of Base proxy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mog coin.
Well,
bro, it's Mogtober, man.
It's Mogtober.
Whether we like it or not, it's Mogtober.
That's it.
Mog. Let's see the tweet. Where's the tweet?
I once again braved going onto Mogcoin's Twitter feed. That's a fairly standard Mog tweet. That's one of the saner ones. It's just mad. But again, I can't see a particular reason why Mog has pumped, but other than the fact that it's Mogtober. Okay, and last but not least, Chili's CHZ. Now, this pump is likely due to the launch of Pepper. This is a community coin on Chili's. So basically, CHZ holders are going to be able to get an airdrop of this. Apparently, it's having a fair launch.
Yeah.
This Pepper coin. So I think obviously people have been buying up CHZ in order to farm Pepper.
So 4 out of the top 5 performers last week were meme coins.
3. Right? And then I suppose.
Chili's. Sorry, Pepper. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, I thought it was Pepper. Yeah, so 3. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's have a look at token unlocks coming this week.
Yeah, so it's only 2 really important ones to note, guys. So these are on Tuesday. We've got about 6.01% of the circulating supply coming out for Eigen layer. So obviously the Eigen token. This is going to community initiatives, future community initiatives. So it's for the community support. So it's not too much for. Obviously, it's still all dilutive, but I don't think they're necessarily going to sell out. It's for the community. So that's relatively large, but we've got an Eigen layer video coming out tomorrow. Hopefully, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
Mm-hmm.
Learn more about the Eigen token and its utility. And then Wednesday, we've got about 2.5% of the supply for Arbitrum unlocking, and this is going to investors and team. So whether these guys are going to want to sell out, whether they want to hodl ARB. I know you hodl ARB.
Not good news for my ARB bag.
You don't want to be a guy. I mean, a few days left to make a decision on that bag.
I'm just going to hodl till things get better. But not my biggest, not my best holding ARB. That's for sure. Okay, so that's the 2 sort of big token unlocks coming up this week. A couple of other dates for your diary to look out for. So Wednesday to Friday, we've been talking about Off the Grid, which is obviously on Avalanche. Wednesday to Friday, the Avalanche Latin America Summit is taking place. And apparently there are going to be a few big announcements, as you would expect at one of these sort of crypto, project-specific conferences. Avalanche 9000 is being announced.
So, the most important upgrade since mainnet, right?
Okay, yeah.
Well, that's apparently. So that's going to be big.
So there could be, AVAX could be one to watch there, and just sort of general developments in the Avalanche ecosystem, which has obviously been going fairly heavily for GameFi, and has been, benefiting from all the hype around Off the Grid. Then on Thursday, some lovely data for fans of it.
Yeah, so we got US retail sales. This is all economic. So there's economic related data, right, for the US. US retail sales, the previous was 0.1% growth month on month, and now we're talking that the consensus is 0.3%. So slightly continued improvement in the US economy. And then just after that, we got initial jobless claims. Again, looking at the economic growth in the US, and if it's slowing down, hasn't been slowing down at all recently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all comes back to how the Fed is going to react with these data. 258K was the previous jobless number, and the consensus is 241K. I think arguably the biggest data release on Thursday is going to be China's Q3 GDP data.
Yeah.
So that's obviously all going to play into what the hell's going on in that part of the world, because obviously there's been all this talk about potential Chinese stimulus. At first, there was a lot of FOMO around, now they're going to pump the markets full. About a week ago, there wasn't, the governor came out and the finance minister came out, and they weren't nearly as positive as people expected. So the markets crashed, Chinese stocks. So it'll be interesting to see what the data points are, although that's if you believe the Chinese GDP numbers.
Yes, I must say I'm kind of always a bit skeptical when you get numbers like that out of China, but it'll be interesting to see what they come out with nonetheless, and what the market's reaction to it is. Okay, now it was kind of, I must say, it was difficult to find.
But we're just going to one thing to mention, guys. Also, sorry, we just started. If you guys don't follow the Coin Bureau Insider Telegram channel, you have to. We're going to link to it below. Not only do we cover like daily market movers and daily market movers as well as daily crypto news, but we also now released once weekly on a Sunday. We'll be doing a similar thing, breakdown of things coming up in the week, from crypto to macro, unlocks, and all. So guys going to follow that. One was pushed yesterday, Sunday, so it was the first one.
Yeah. So that's the Coin Bureau Insider Telegram channel. Don't accept any substitutes. Keep a lookout for fake ones, but the Coin Bureau Insider has the blue tick. Yeah. It's the one with sort of about 138,000.
138,000. Yeah.
Yeah. So push that number up. Okay, tweets of the week. Now, I was looking through earlier to get a couple from today. It was hard to find anything that wasn't about SpaceX catching a rocket with chopsticks. Crypto Twitter was basically SpaceX Twitter this morning. I mean, it was really impressive, wasn't it?
Oh, crazy, man. Crazy.
But everyone sort of basically proclaiming Elon Musk to be, president of all Earth. But yeah, really impressive. Anyhow, we did find some tweets that were not SpaceX chopstick rocket connected. The first one is, it was kind of big news last week. This is from Peter Todd. I am not Satoshi. We talked about this in last week's stream, didn't we? The upcoming the HBO documentary that dropped last week. It wasn't a very compelling case for Peter Todd, was it?
Yeah, what an anticlimax that was. People, we shouldn't have hyped. People shouldn't. I think the crypto community shouldn't have hyped it up, right? Like we said last week, their track record is terrible.
Yeah,
it's either Peter Todd or Dorian Nakamoto. Like that's the best you guys can do. Like seriously.
Well, at least Peter Todd does have sort of some qualification. Okay, like I think they figured out that given his age, he would have been sort of, if he was Satoshi, he would have been 17 at the time, which is a bit of a stretch. I mean, I know Vitalik was 19 when he came up with Ethereum, maybe even younger. But I think to come up with Bitcoin when you're 17, obviously Peter Todd is a very smart guy. But at least he had some, like Dorian Nakamoto just had the same last name. I mean, it was hardly, this was the guy that Newsweek outed back in 2017.
So,
I think it was.
Yeah, well, no, 2016.
Maybe it was even,
it was even earlier. I think. Yeah,
it was even earlier.
So in 10 years of investigative journalism, they, the next step is like one forum post their link, and then they think, oh, we found Satoshi. What next?
Yeah, so I don't think we're any closer to finding Satoshi, and that is certainly a good thing. Peter Todd, I'm not Satoshi. This next tweet, I enjoyed this one from DC Investor. The FBI is literally launching tokens on Ethereum L1, and you're bearish.
And not even an L2, man, and an L1. No. Bullish on Ethereum. Man. The Feds are bullish on Ethereum L1. They're not launching an L2s. There we go, bro.
They're not messing around with L2s. They're going straight to the base chain. Okay, so that was from DC Investor. The next tweet of the week. Speaking of L2s, I mean, I think that's probably pretty much bang on.
Pretty accurate, yeah.
Yeah, no shortage of L2s. Definitely a shortage of women in crypto. Let's try and change that. Yeah. Goodness. Okay, and the final tweet of the week is this one. Now, this is a bit long. Basically, TLDR, this guy got his wallet drained, and he believes it's because he had his seed phrase stored on his Google Drive. Now, even though he had it in supposedly a hidden folder, he'd apparently taken a snapshot of it, I think a picture of it, and had it saved there. But that is how he reckons. And his wallet got drained whilst he was on a flight from Korea to New York. This just underlines, folks, the importance of OPSEC in crypto. Do not take a picture of your seed phrase. Do not store your seed phrase online anywhere, whether it's Google Drive, whether it's even on your computer, just in general. Just don't do it. A seed phrase should be written down on a piece of paper and copied and kept in a very, very safe place. But please don't, these mistakes do happen. There is software that can trawl and scrape this sort of data that looks out for sort of seed phrases. So
even if it's a picture, they can still pick it up.
Yeah. So sad to see that still happening. But yeah, the only way that you can prevent it is to be ultra, ultra careful. Okay, now before we get into your feedback, it's time for a Coin Bureau announcement, and it's time to give a little bit of context as to why we're dressed like
the elephant
this.
in the room. Yeah, maybe the elephant in the room. Maybe you guys are thinking some another elephant, an Asian elephant. It's an Asian elephant actually, because we obviously we also weren't playing cricket earlier because Guy had a new operation, so we couldn't play cricket. But we are going to be following on from last week's announcements, and we launched our training channel, which is going quite well actually. We've got some good videos, other communities liking that. We are now also going to announce that we are launching a Coin Bureau South Asia channel, which will be a rebranding of another channel out there, a creator called Asad. He's got a very strong channel already, a strong community, and it is going to be a channel that is going to be in both Urdu and Hindi.
Okay.
So bringing the two together, the rivalry together, all in one under one brand, and everyone together on the purpose of crypto. And yeah, the goal here is basically to bring more people to obviously realizing that you can't bring the rest of the world into crypto and adoption, right? Our goal of adoption with crypto education, if you just focus on one region and one language, right? And English, the rest of the world is way bigger than just English, right? And that's a massive population, geography with the population there. So I think it's a fitting tribute to them with wearing these shirts. And like I said, Asad's going to be one of the hosts, and there'll be some hosts in Hindi as well. And it's been spearheaded by Raheem as well, our new COO/BD. And we're looking forward to see Coin Bureau branding and represented in that part of the world. So we'll be linking to that later on.
Yeah, lots of crypto crazy people in that part of the world, really knowledgeable as well. So it's great to be sort of speaking to that wider audience.
And me and Guy tried our hand at some Urdu and Hindi earlier today.
Yeah, I've already it's already gone out of my head, but it was good fun. It was good fun to do that. Yeah. And yes, any Pakistan fans watching, I'm sorry that was such a tough test match for you guys, but don't worry, there's another one. England made over 800 runs.
800 runs.
Yeah, against Pakistan. Absolutely. Yeah, it was quite a game, especially if you're English. Okay, so that is the launch of Coin Bureau South Asia coming soon. Hence these wonderful jerseys. This one isn't very flattering. So it makes me look quite tubby.
Guy, that's the one thing he complained about. The whole, it's like people are going to say, I have to mention it before, and it's like, no, in the stream last week, I streamed with a blanket. People couldn't mention in the beginning, so we'll leave it till the end.
Yeah, which leads us nicely onto our feedback actually, because someone was asking about the blanket. Or firstly, someone was saying that I need long brown hair to match Nick.
There we go.
That's going to take a long time. I think that would look quite weird. As well. I did have long hair back in the day.
You're going to have to keep on going. I was inspired by Mo. By Mo Sheikh from FTX. I'm going to continue growing mine out. I'm like, I can't have people in crypto with longer hair than me. Need to keep on growing.
Man, there's a lot of work to do to get a barnet like Mo Sheikh. That is an impressive lid he's got going on there. Okay, so a few more bits of feedback here. This is an interesting question from Pablo Lacasia. Crypto has gone from a technical, geeky new type of money to a bazaar of meme coins. Is that good for crypto adoption?
Oh, that's a long. There's a long answer. There's a rabbit hole there, man. There's so much debate around this. I mean, is it a question around have all the technical, geeky, new type of money stuff been, good for retail? And this comes back to the question of the high FTV, low circulation meta and being dumped on retail, and and if meme coins are the one place people can actually get a fair launch, should they go and chase it? Do people feel it's egalitarian? Is the stacks against them? I think that obviously it's not cool to see like a no utility coin. No utility, just a hype thing, making people, people aping into that. And meme coins raising hundreds of millions, and like good project teams struggle to raise or like struggle to get traction. But it's like people don't want to trade against VCs. They don't want to trade against people who've got earlier access to them, can exit on them. Unfair terms.
I think that's been one of the really interesting things, because like memes have sort of come again, they've had a sort of resurgence in recent weeks. And I think that is in large part a kind of reaction against this kind of VC project meta, this high float, low FTV, high FTV, low float meta, which, you know, as you say, is sort of VCs just profiting at the expense of everyone else. And I think that's one of the things that people like about meme coins. And I think another interesting thing is that it kind of gets people, it ignited a lot of debate about sort of online communities, virality, you know, things like that. And I can understand why people who really sort of understand and appreciate the tech of crypto are sort of frustrated by meme coins.
Yeah.
And it is kind of crazy just how persistent they've been, and, you know, how much, and, you know, it's kind of weird, really. I think, you know, not only have you got all these upcoming meme coins, but then you've got old ones like Doge and SHIB, which are just kind of sitting there.
The culture, that's culture. I can see both sides of the argument. I think that it's one of these things where, and it's also the component of relatability. Like we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago about, you know, the eigenlayer token, you know, the integer objective work token with this 50-page like convoluted stuff, and you got a meme, right? So which one's more relatable to retail? Which one is something like, do you explain to people why they should buy into Eigen over, you know, a cute cat with you know, cat or whatnot, right?
Yeah, good question, and I think that's a debate that's going to run and run. Uzmets wants to know how we live in Dubai and we're still not tanned. I think this is aimed at you, Nick.
I feel very offended about that. As a South African, it's like to be whiter than the Brit is kind of like an insult. But well, for one thing, I mean, it's very, very hot, so it's still difficult to still be out and outdoors now. Maybe I'll try and find some time to tan over the weekend. Also, I'm a crypto bro. I'm mostly working indoors these days, you know.
Yeah. We're just hunched in front of laptops, making content all day long. That's why we're not tan. You know, we're in a dark studio and we could be out sort of topping up our tan.
Get some sunbeds in. Yeah, maybe we should, you know, get some sunbeds.
Yeah, well, that's a bull market. That's a bull market purchase if ever there was one. Okay, Moonwalker is saying what's on a lot of people's minds. 65K, baby. There we are. Back at 65K. Let's keep going. And last but not least, okay, well, I mean, we're going to sign off now. We're talking about trying to get more women into crypto. Here's one way. I think it would be great to bring more women into crypto. Can I please request when you start the stream to say hello, guys and girls, or ladies and gentlemen? We women often get left out.
GM,
GM, ladies and gentlemen. GM, guys and girls.
Guys and girls. Here we go.
Okay. Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching today's stream. Thank you for joining. As we've said, there is a lot more content coming your way this week. Lots of interesting stuff in the pipeline. So we will be back at the same time next week. Maybe in the jerseys of other great cricketing nations.
Or another sport.
Rugby. Or another sport entirely, yeah.
Yeah, rugby, another good Commonwealth sport. Rugby, what else do we have there?
Yeah, something civilized like rugby or rugby, cricket, not football. Okay, well, thanks for watching, everyone. Great to see you, and we will be back again soon.
Cheers, guys. Adios.
Having a couple of cold ones, listening to the latest from Guy and Nick. Excellent leg censorship, best crypto show out there by far. Bros, amazing. Leg censorship, best crypto show out there by far. Bros, amazing. Leg censorship. Leg censorship. Bros. Censorship.